Good evening. We're going to go over the watch list for March 2nd. I have a big bullish list and a small bearish list. And if you're not in the room as a subscriber, you should be, because you're probably going to miss a big week. I am going to assume that we're probably going to have a dead cat bounce this week. And I'm sure more news will come out about the coronavirus that will sink the market, or the Fed will jump in and do a rate cut, or there'll be a lot of volatility, and you don't want to miss it because that's where all the money is made. And right now I'm looking at the futures, and they are up 9 points, the ES. So right now they're green, but that doesn't mean anything. It could be red by the morning. So anyways, I didn't scan too much for a bearish list because everything's been selling off so heavily. So there's really not much to even really look at on the short side. But the couple of tickers that I do is, one is obviously BABA. It's had a strong bounce on Friday, but I think if it gets, back under this 205 area, that it could come back and retest under 200 again. So if the market is weak and there's more bad news with China, BABA is one of the ones you want to look at. The other one is Shack for a short. So we get a lot of lines here. I'll get rid of them. Yeah, it's down here at support at the 58. If the market's weak and it gets worse, I mean, this could end up going down to 55 or even 50. So if market conditions aren't favorable, I would expect Shack to go down more. Also have HD, which is Home Depot. Maybe it's bounced right off, I don't know, close to this 213 area, but I think that if we keep getting bad news, I mean, Home Depot has come a long ways. I mean, I could see that it could come down and test 203 or even into the 193 area. So, I mean, that is one I would keep an eye on too. The other one's Target. Target did finish green on Friday, but the thing that's caught my attention is that it's in no man's land right here. I mean, under 100. I mean, it's got all the way down to 90. So I mean, there's nothing here. So I would, if it market gets weak and Target's weak, I mean, under 100, I'd grab Target. There's nothing there until 90. So another one is Amazon. Amazon, I mean, considering how much the market sold off, I mean, I thought it'd be a lot lower than what it is, but but if the market keeps getting weak, gets below 1800, it could definitely go down into the 1700s, maybe even down into the 1600s if it's really, really bad. So I would watch Amazon for a downside. I mean, everyone's like talking about Netflix going crazy and everyone's staying home for Netflix, and they're not doing anything else. Well, if that's the case, then Amazon Prime should be up, Disney should be up, Uber Eats should be up. Many would say, oh, because Uber Eats is you're still having contact. Well, you're going to have contact with people when you get food anyways, whether they bring it to your house, whether you go get it, whether you go to a drive-thru, you're going to have contact no matter what. So I don't believe that argument. Now we'll go back to the bullish side. If we do get a dead cat bounce, I have quite a few that are I think very worthy, and one of them is Wayfair. I mean, look at it down here. Once it's gotten below 60, it two times it's bounced pretty hard. So I like Wayfair over. Let's see, where did it end off on Friday? Yeah, over 63. I like that. And UPS is another one. It's just been getting hammered on. I started looking at it right at the 95 range, and it just keeps going down and down. I mean, UPS would probably be one I would really, really be interested in if it gets any momentum. So anything over 92, I would grab UPS. BA. BA could have a nice, a bounce, dead cat bounce, but they just haven't sold any airplanes. I don't understand how it's still up as high as it is, but whatever. So if it does, decide to bounce, I would look at it over probably over 280, 283, and to get to the 300 range and probably retest this 305 area. I don't think it'll go too much. Maybe it could fill the gap to 330 if we have a really, really strong week and something happens and coronavirus doesn't ruin it. So that's what I'd be looking at. VA. Roku is another one. Roku is going to have a violent bounce one of these days. So I think he gets over 115. He can get into the 120s and even 125. Even into the 130s. So I think Roku is probably one of my ones I'd go to when the market starts getting better, because Roku is going to just take off. Baidu is another one. They had earnings. It's bounced off this 114 area a few times. So I mean, if it gets over the 120, I mean, it can get to 130. So that's what I'd be looking at on that. But if it does break this 114, the next level is the 110 area. So I would definitely look for that. Hone is another one. Had good luck with Hone, and I had such a massive bounce. Had like a $12 bounce. It could reject right here on the hourly. It could pull back and get to the 156 area, I guess. And if it does get into that area, then maybe it's going to be good for a dip buy. But I would not buy it right out of the gate on tomorrow, or I'd let it pull back a little bit, because it had such a huge $12 jump on Friday. So I would expect some kind of a pullback or even an inside day or something like that before going higher. So keep an eye on Hone. QCOM is another one. QCOM has been really good to us, over 80 for a gap fill. If nothing bad comes out, QCOM could definitely get to 86, fill that gap. So be watching QCOM. One I'll be watching is if they have a rate cut. They do some kind of rate cut. The first thing I'll do is jump in Goldman Sachs, or JP Morgan, or even both. So I would definitely be watching Goldman Sachs over 202, but only if there's a Fed rate cut. If there's a Fed rate cut, that's what I'll do. Last one is Apple, Facebook. Go to the weekly. Yeah, it's got this huge candle right here on the weekly. So I probably like it more over over 279, and you can see it on the 4-hour chart, which I have up. It's got it's the RSI is below 30, and histogram is starting to go up, and stochastic is starting to go up. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we see Apple try to bounce to get to 300 and retest this gap resistance on the 4-hour. That's what I'd be looking at, Apple. But there's also Facebook too. I think Facebook looks very similar, yeah. And I'd probably play it this exact same way over 195.50 for a 203 run, and maybe even fill the gap if the market's really, really strong. So that's my thoughts. That's what I'll be looking at. Write down the levels, write down the targets, and what to expect. Like I said, I wouldn't be too focused on being bullish or being bearish. You get to flip a coin and just go with the flow. And if there's good news, just buy calls and go up with the momentum. And if there's more bad news with coronavirus, be prepared to buy puts and just write it down. It's going to be all news driven, and that's just the way you have to play this week. So thanks for watching. Have a good one.